All right, hello there, thrill seekers. If I did this right and set the thingy up right, I will be on my way to Japan when you see this. I don't normally do this. Anyway, so I thought I would put up a video that people could watch while I'm away. And this is a video of a talk that I did in Benediktushof Retreat Center in Germany, in Bavaria, on September 8th, 2022. And I thought it was kind of interesting and you might enjoy it. And so don't worry about Ziggy. We're putting him with my wife's sister and her dog. That's where he will be when we are away. Anyway, here's the video, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you when I get back. I don't know if I'm going to do any videos when I'm in Japan or not. I might. Anyway, here goes the video from Benediktushof. Say bye, Ziggy.
If you want to know what this life is and what this person is, whatever this thing is that is encountering this life, something is living this life, something is drinking this water, something just tasted that. If I want to know what that is, well, one way to research what that is to try to sit very still for a long time and just be that. But don't do anything else. Don't try to chase a thought about it. Don't try to solve the puzzle. Don't think of the mantra. Don't do anything. Don't try to change this state from ordinary to enlightened. Don't try to do anything. Just sit and be exactly this and see what it is. And don't even try to figure it out. Even trying to figure it out is too much. Just be it and stay there and try not to disturb it. That's the hard part. Because I think we've learned a lot of very efficient ways to disturb it. There's all kinds of entertainment that can come along and distract us and show us pretty pictures and exciting events, and some of them are very happy and some of them are very sad and some of them are very profound, and there are all kinds of things you can be distracted by. Beautiful, ugly, doesn't matter. There's all kinds of things to be distracted by. But in this Zen practice, we're just trying to take this thing that's so ordinary that no normal person would ever want to even look at it. Whereas you guys are looking at this dull, blank wall. I'm looking at the floor, because I'm supposed to be facing outward. So all I get to see all day is this wood. All you get to see is this, maybe it's plaster, or I don't know what it is over here. I'm just looking at white. Who wants to look at white all day? And just all day long looking at white. And not doing anything to disturb it. And of course, when you do that, the mind at first has a tendency to just throw everything, just try to. It's really fighting, because I feel like it's kind of like the way I imagine it, it's hard to describe. It's sort of like this soft piece of meat, sort of skin or something. And all day long we've been poking it with pins and things and going because we want to feel it, And then when you stop poking it, it's just going to be like, for a while. It's just going to be aching and hurting from all the poking and all the stimulation we've done to it for so many days and weeks and months with all the things we've put into it. So when you begin any retreat like this, the first few days or it's going to take time of just getting rid of all that, just going. So it's just going to be like that. I'll give you a concrete example that I can give you right now, which I thought was kind of funny. I was sitting here, right here, a few minutes ago, with all of you all here, sitting Zazen, and who knows why, but my mind went into this whole, I guess you'd call it a hallucination, in which several people over here got up and abruptly walked out of the room, and I didn't know why they'd walked out of the room, and I thought, oh God, I better do something about those people walking out of the room because that's going to bother the other people in here, and and my mind went to all these places of like, what am I going to do about all these people who walked out of the room, and then all at once I'm like, oh, wait a minute, nobody walked out of the room. That was just my brain doing one of those tricks that it does. This is something that happens at the beginning of a retreat. I think everybody goes through, maybe not that, but something like that. The mind just starts throwing things up. But for a minute or two, I was absolutely, convinced that 3 or 4 people had walked out of the room, and that I needed to do something about it. But luckily, that wasn't true, and nobody walked out of the room. And that's just the kind of thing that happens. One thing used to happen often with my Zen teacher in Japan is people would come to him, and I did this many times, and I watched other people do it many times. And they would say, it doesn't even matter. This and that and this and that happened, during my Zazen, I thought of this and that and this thing happened and they go on and on and on and on and tell this whole story. And he would listen, and at the end of it he would say, that is just the content of your Zazen. Thank you. I heard him say that to me many times. I heard him say that to many other people many times. And these days I say that to people a lot of times. And I may say that to some of you during Dokusan. If you want to have Dokusan with me and hear me say that, you're invited. I can say that. Sometimes it's good to hear somebody say that. Sometimes it's useful, because you can think. You can imagine that this stuff is important, but most of it, it's not that important. It's just something that happens. And when I read the words of somebody like Huang Po or Dogen, I think, oh, this is somebody who's really worked on it and who's seen kind of where this is, going, and what the ultimate is. And I think the ultimate is, I think in some sense, all of us know, like all of us, like all of you, and me too. We all know what it is. We all know. We have this elaborate sort of something. I don't know what it is. We have this elaborate something that we do in which we pretend that we don't know, and that we're seeking it, and we have to do all these things to try to figure it out. But we know. We know what it is. And you know, I'm just as bad at it as anybody else. This thing came up last. Was it? Oh, I don't know. Whenever I was in that, the camera moved, or maybe I moved. Anyway, I did this retreat in Finland last week, sometime in the past, sometime in the recent past. The days have all blurred together. I guess it was a week ago, or something like a week ago. And there was an arsonist that was loose in the area. Somebody was setting fires, and he tried to set the center we were in on fire, but unfortunately for him, he's really bad at it. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for him, he's a lousy fire starter. So all he really managed to do was make a hole about this big, burn a little spot on the ground, maybe 10 meters in front of the center. That's what he burned. But he tried. So, everybody was worried about this fire starter and whether maybe he would be successful next time. So they appointed 2 people who were at the retreat to be in charge of security and trying to keep an eye out and make sure this guy didn't set another fire, because we had to be there for another 2 nights. And one of the people who was to be one of the security heads of security said in the meeting, well, I don't know, I don't feel like I should be, I have any qualifications to be in charge of security. And hearing him say that, I thought, I don't feel like I should be qualified to be in charge of being the Zen teacher. Really, I'm not even making that up. I've been doing it now for, how long have I been doing it? Jesus Christ. I think the first time I led a Zen class, it was probably still the 1990s. I don't really know what year it was. So, it's the year 2022, so that's at least 20 years. Maybe more like 25 years. I don't know, because I can't remember what year it was. So I've been doing this, leading Zen classes for a long time, long enough that it should be, I should be qualified, right? But I still don't feel like I'm qualified to be up here and being the teacher of this group, and I still don't know why I keep finding myself in that position. Day after day, I find myself in a position of being in front of a bunch of people who want me to talk about Zen to them, and then I go, okay, I guess I better do that. And then I find myself in a room there with somebody who asks me questions about Zen, and I go, well, I better come up with a good answer. And then I answer it. And I think that's what we all do. That's what we do in life. We just kind of try to come up with the best answer that we can, and that's what we do. And I think that's all we can do. You just. Sometimes I don't I don't know if I understand what life is yet, but my current way of dealing with it is I feel like every minute I appear in a body and mind, and it's sort of like imagine it's like plop, there I am. And I'm in this body and mind, and now I got to do something with it. It's like when you find yourself in a dream, and you're riding a camel in the Sahara Desert, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm a guy who rides a camel in the Sahara Desert. I better do that. That's what I feel like when I find myself in Benedictushof giving a lecture about Zen. That I'm in a dream where oh look, I'm a guy who gives lectures about Zen at Benedictushof. I guess I better do that. So we have about 10 minutes. I'm sorry I talked too long. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Why do you think Wangpo chose the word mind, or maybe it's just a translation thing, for this universal thing that has no specific qualities but combines all qualities? Why call it mind and not something else? Because to me it seems like a little idealistic. Where's the material world in this?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and well, one thing that's relevant is that the word hin, I don't know how the Chinese pronounce it, but the Japanese took the word from Chinese, and it's a pictogram of a heart. So, but it's used for both mind and heart. So that's one part of it. So they don't. I know I've asked this question in Germany before. I don't know if the German language has that thing that the English language does, where they make a sharp division between mind and heart. But in English we do, but in Chinese they don't. So it's mind and heart. So it includes all that sort of stuff that is included in both of those. But why that and not matter? It's difficult. Dogen, when he talks about mind, he takes a kind of care to distinguish it from a kind of idealistic idea of mind. So there's one phrase that appears a lot in Dogen's writings where he says, "Mind is fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles, mountains, rivers, and the great earth." He says it so many times that I've memorized it. So he's trying to remind us that when he says mind, he doesn't mean mind as in something internal, just this kind of internal experience, but he says that mind is matter. So when you look out at the world that is external to you, the external world is also mind in his view. So matter and mind are not two separate things. And there's also the Heart Sutra, which says form is emptiness, emptiness is form. That's what we chanted in the morning. It's shiki sokuze ku sokuze shiki. If you remember that part when you're chanting it in the morning is form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Which is also saying that emptiness. There's different interpretations of that. I'm aware, but I always interpret it, and I'm not the only one, as the emptiness, that sort of experiential sort of mind part of it, is also the form that is matter and all of that. Having said that, I'm always provisional. I think everything everyone says is provisional, but when I first started encountering Buddhism, I was very resistant to the idea of sort of mind as being the thing, that sort of idealism, idealism in the Western sense that says that the main thing happening is mind, and that matter is kind of a secondary thing, or maybe matter is non-existent. And my teacher in Japan, Nishijima Roshi, was also against that idea. But then I also had conversations with Nishijima Roshi in private, in which I would say, well, yeah, some people say the material world is an illusion. And he said, oh, yes, the material world is an illusion. I go, wait a minute, I thought you said it's not. So there's that. I think it's something that there's different words, and it kind of so mind isn't the only word in Huang Po's teachings. He tends to favor mind. Dogen also uses mind, but Dogen tends to favor a different word, which is jiko, which jiko is in just sort of plain, ordinary Japanese is like self, is like me. So when Dogen talks about it, he's like saying self is everything. Everything is self, rather than saying everything is mind. But he does say that phrase about mind is fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles, and all of that stuff. So why? I don't know. I think in our sort of Western view that we've been kind of following for centuries in the West, we're kind of saying matter is everything. But I think that might be a mistake. It might be as much of a mistake as saying mind is everything, because they're two sides of one something that isn't mind and isn't matter. That's kind of where we're okay. Good. That's a good place to stop because it's getting weird. So, so I guess we're going to do the meal chant now. Okay.